Police in the eastern region have stepped up security at the Sokore and surrounding towns after supporters of the governing NDC and opposition MPP clashed during health walks organized by the parliamentary candidates. At a meeting on Monday afternoon with representatives of the two main parties, Eastern Region Police Public Relations Officer ASP Yawen Ketia Yeboah says the solution to preventing further clashes is to schedule all health walks organized by the two parties on different days. He also mentioned that all persons involved in the latest clash will be severely dealt with.
First of all, now peace has been, calm has been brought to the constituency. That is
okay. So
to yesterday's incident. We this morning the Eastern Regional Police Command organized a meeting for the police at the district, or one part, the MPP, MPC, and their executives within that New Jabin constituency, not which are Sokore, Oyoko, and Sijase are their main towns. At the meeting, both parties, in other words, NDP and NDC, asked to rotate the keep fit, Sunday keep fit. That has become a tradition in the constituency. Due to that, it agreed that this coming Saturday, which is 26th, the NDC will have this on the 26th Saturday of November. Then the following day, which is 27th, NPP Sunday will also have their health walk. Then the following week, which is the last week of the year before the general election, the MPP will have their health walk on Saturday, 3rd December. The NDC will have their health walk the following day, which is 4th December. So MPP, NDC, NDC, MPP. Then the year comes to a close on this general election.
okay.
They have also agreed to ensure that their followers adhere to the tenets of the Public Order Act, the law abiding, give respect to the law enforcement officers, and follow directives so that such occurrence doesn't happen again. The Deputy Police Regional Commander who chaired the function on behalf of the Regional Commander also made them aware that the Deputy Regional Commander is ACP Nuhu Jango. He chaired on behalf of DCOP Peter King that doesn't close the investigation. The investigation causing damage to two vehicles belonging to members of the community and causing harm to the 10 party activists, all will be investigated.
The NPP constituency chairman for New Jabin North, Kujo Ajimang, says the NPP will abide by the decision.
The decision that agree in the principle of how the activities will be structured. In fact, we did not discuss what actually happened yesterday, but they went straight that they want us to reschedule the programs. They don't want the parties to have activities in the same day because of what actually happened yesterday. So what we discussed is the way forward, but we did not discuss what actually happened and what went wrong and what are the involvement of the police, how their response to the incident yesterday. So for me, I won't be dishonest. I will say that whatever we agree, the principle of our programs in the forward from now till 7th December is what we propose.
The NDC's parliamentary candidate for New Jabin North, Haruna Apau Redu, also says he will go along with the new arrangement.
Oh, sure, definitely. Just as you are aware, a peaceful roadmap that has been reached by both political parties. And I believe that the party that I represent is no exception. We believe in peace, we believe in fairness, we believe in equality, and we believe that the rules of the game must be stick to and must be adhered to so that we fair play within the game. Just as you asked, or just as you reiterated, I believe that where we have gotten to and where we have reached, and considering our background and where we are coming from, this is the fourth republic, and Ghana has traveled afar. I believe that the peace is an ingredient that cannot be compared to anything. So clearly speaking, considering how the meeting was organized, the discussions taken from both sides, and the intervention of the police and the advice and suggestions coming from the Prime Center, is a good step. And it must be encouraged, it must be protected, and we all need to make sure that what has been put down on paper, practically, we all adhere to it, so that our followers and supporters will be proud of the system. Just as you know, maybe aside maybe a few skirmishes left, right, center, but you and I will agree that police is an institution of which there is one institution. They are not superhumans, and they may not have the eye to be able to pick up all negativity and all acts that has the potential to endanger the peaceful atmosphere you enjoy.
Now, there have been several calls for such politically organized health walks to be banned until after the elections. Now, Mr. Etienne Nukete, General Secretary of the governing National Democratic Congress, he does not agree. He says it won't be the solution to the problem.
Since I became General Secretary and since I ever contested in any elections, the climate now leading to elections, 2 weeks to election, is the most peaceful. By all means, you get some isolated incidents, but you can be the better judges that the tensions that attended to the 2012, 2008 elections and so on, it cannot be compared to what is happening now. So I am very confident that we are making progress as a country, because in all other elections, 2 weeks to election, the type of tensions and clashes and things you hear of. I've heard of about this Nima issue, and I think also. We are 2 weeks to election. Let's pray that, we should have an ideal situation where there will be no clashes at all. But I think that it is a marked improvement over what has been happening in the country. And I think that moving forward, we should work towards a situation where there will not be any opportunity for clashes at all. So yesterday, when I arrived, I heard about these things. I went to participate in the walk in Nima. Now I addressed the MPP, NDC supporters equally and impress upon them the need to be civil in their campaigning and so on. And reminded them that, look, you are the same Nima people living in the same community. You attend your advance together, you do your festivals together and so on. Family relations and so on. So why would you allow party callers to now make you enemies? So there is no point. Within the next 3 weeks, these things will be over and you will continue to stay as brothers.
Those who are calling for a situation where we would stop the health works just in order to avoid those clashes, to stop it up until the elections.
So everybody should stay in their house, no exercise. I don't think so. This is not a solution at all.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break at this point, but we have more stories coming up. Please don't go away. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now, anti-corruption campaigner Martin Amidu is alleging President Mahama is working to block a prize opportunity to orally examine businessman Alfred Woyome in court for legally keeping 51.2 million cedis of state money. Mr. Amidu argues that Mr. Woyome could reveal politically explosive information during the examination that could destroy the president's re-election chances on December 7. In his latest statement, the former Attorney General said, quote, "The President of the Republic of Ghana who has sworn a constitutional oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution of Ghana as by law established, grant an interview to the press after the decision of the court on the same day. Moreover, the president is shown on television that night castigating the decision of the Supreme Court he has sworn to defend and uphold. Now, unquote, Jifa Bampo has joined me in the studio. She has more on the statement and she's going to be taking us through it. Good evening to you, Jifa, and nice to have you here once again. So let's go through Mr. Amidu's statement. For him, as far as he's concerned, the president is scheming to scuttle his chances of, orally examining businessman Alfred Woyome. But what are the highlights of his statement?
Right, so it's a 4-page statement, and it's titled, President's Conduct After Court Order is More Reason Ghana Needs a New President on December 7, 2016. Okay. And
meanwhile, he has already issued an earlier statement where he says that he thinks that Ghanaians should vote out President
Yes,
Mahama.
In his view, the 51 million CD judgment debt wrongfully paid to Mr. Woyome will most likely not be retrieved under an NDC government. And in his view, the current president should be voted out to facilitate the retrieval of that money, because he seems to suggest that keeping an NDC government in office works against actually trying to retrieve this money. And that's why he has put himself on the line in an effort to facilitate that process. So that is why this Thursday, Mr. Amidu will be cross-examining Mr. Woyome in an attempt to get a sense of who are the people who benefited from this money? Who are the people that Mr. Woyome maybe shared this money with or paid out some of these amounts to? Because so far only 4 million cedis has been paid to the state, and that's actually an amount that is specifically paid to Iyoko, which Mr. Amidu is also questioning, feeling that that money should have been paid directly through state coffers. But he goes on to criticize President Mahama in this particular statement. And his main concern is about the comments the president made last week in his presidential encounter broadcast on GTV. Yes, which he sought to say that the Attorney General specifically has done a lot in fighting this case and in working very hard to retrieve this money. And then he is now asking that the president then turns himself into a Supreme Court judge by defending his AG, who has just lost the application at court. Is this then not a president who is intimidating me simply for exercising my constitutional right to access to justice before the Supreme Court? The conduct of the president convinces me, a foundation member of the NDC, that he will do everything in his power to ensure that this oral examination may not come on 24th November 2016. Mark my words, the president can further subvert the cause of justice so that the people of Ghana do not hear the truth about the loot of the public purse he led until after the elections on December 7, 2016. We need patriotic public pressure and opinion to dissuade such intention. So for him, he's raising these issues ahead of time so that there will be no attempt to scuttle this oral examination, which many also know as a deposition. So by this on Thursday.
By this statement, he's expecting the public, to come in on his side and put pressure on.
Essentially, there should be no attempt to even try, and that if there is, then of course the public should be so minded that there's a certain prelude to such an act, which for him then would be detrimental to actually this whole process of finding out who received the money and also in an attempt to retrieve. But that was with the president, and he now moved on. In fact, the last 2-3 pages of his latest write-up attacks and criticizes the Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, who came on Newsfile on Saturday in an attempt to give a broader perspective about what the Attorney General's department had done in an attempt to retrieve this money. He sought to explain why they stepped down their decision to orally examine Mr. Woyome. He sought to also explain how these monies, the 4 million Ghana cedis, had been paid into the Iyoko account, and sought to suggest that a lot of the things that Mr. Amidu is saying is not based on, fact. And obviously, Mr. Amidu is working on his own. He's not close to the government. So there's a certain inclination that, well, maybe you're not fully apprised of the facts. And so you are making comments and drawing conclusions based on wrong information or no information at all. So Mr. Amidu is not pleased about that at all, and he goes on to criticize Mr. Ayine, suggesting that it is not ethical practice for Mr. Ayine to go on an appeal or apply for a review of the decision should those options be open, and so he should keep quiet about that. He feels that it's scandalous, in his words, and a bad example for a Deputy Minister of Justice who has sworn to uphold the Constitution to take a cue from the President and criticize the court's decision, including the beneficiary of the decision. That is, Dr. Ayine did indicate that one of the things he criticized about the court ruling was that the court should not have granted this opportunity to Mr. Amidu. And so Mr. Amidu is not exactly happy about that suggestion as well. Then Mr. Amidu goes on to explain certain things as he criticizes Dr. Dominic Ayine for suggesting that some action constitute lying under oath, which is called perjury. So he says that in his view, the Attorney General, who is Mr. Ayine's senior at the bar, deposes an affidavit in person in opposition together with a con-check and script. Mr. Ayine's Attorney General's affidavit was served on me only in the courtroom, which led me to tell the court that I was ambushed with the affidavit in court. In my experience, one does such things to compel the other party for an adjournment to study the affidavits in court. The court offered me an adjournment, but I refused and deprived the government of its suspected intention to postpone the hearing to after this. So he seeks to suggest that he was ambushed with something in court, and this was all a grand scheme to delay the process. But because he refused, the process is going on nonetheless. And so he criticizes Dr. Ayine for suggesting that he's not been exactly truthful to the facts as well. But I think the most important point is on page 3, the second paragraph, where he says, I do not intend to respond to the fulminations of the embittered unconstitutional lutee, whom, that is Mr. Woyome he refers to, whom I may
and he
examine.
uses some pretty strong words there.
Yes.
The looter and lutee.
In fact, I actually didn't want to refer to that, but I'm quoting from the final page. So it says, whom I may orally examine on oath on 24th November. I will not fall into the machinations of someone so mentally exhausted and consequently disrespectful to the law to have me comment on the decision and order of the court which is pending. He and the media may continue their contempt of court while the decision and order are pending. I will not be part of it. And this is in response to the press conference Mr. Woyome has held since. And today Mr. Woyome was on the station as well, commenting and seeking to give his side of the story. And for Mr. Amidu, all those things constitute contempt of court. He does not feel that he wishes to engage directly and be party to that. As far as he is concerned, he will just be in court on the 24th on Thursday to orally examine Mr. Woyome. And I guess we can wait and see if anything will scuttle that process. I remember last week we spoke to Mr. Frank Davis, who is a private legal practitioner. In his view, he didn't think that there will be anything that can stop that. However, when we spoke to Mr. Abraham Amaleba, who is a member of the NDC's legal team, he doesn't think that, well, the AG or anyone is going to do anything. However, I understand that there is a point that probably Mr. Woyome's lawyers could file something that could stop the process. So I guess we all keep our fingers crossed and wait to see that great legal showdown on Thursday.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Jifa Bampude, taking us through the statement, the latest statement that's coming from the former Attorney General, Martin Amidu. And during our interaction, you heard Jifa talk about the fact that Mr. Woyome has been speaking. He has been speaking to the station, and we will be bringing you his comments. But the General Secretary of the governing National Democratic Congress, Johnson Esiedun Ketia, has dismissed former Attorney General Martin Amidu's call for Ghanaians to vote against the party in the upcoming polls, saying it will in no way impact on the choice Ghanaians make at the polls come December 7. Mr. Amidu, a former vice presidential candidate of the NDC, in a statement last week stated the only way Ghanaians can retrieve the judgment they wrongly paid to the businessman was for the NDC to be removed. The NDC's General Secretary would, however, not respond to Mr. Amidu's allegation that President Mahama is scheming against his oral examination of Mr. Woyome, saying it does not merit his reaction.
I don't think it is deserving of my response at all, because I know Ghanaians will not vote based on what Martin Amidu will urge them to vote, in the direction Martin Amidu will urge them to vote. If indeed Ghanaians will vote according to the advice of Martin Amidu, we would have won the elections in 2000 when he was a running mate, because at that time he was all over on platforms urging Ghanaians to vote for us. They didn't vote for us. So I don't see any reason why it is now that Ghanaians will be listening to Martin Amidu's voice to be taking their decisions. But because these issues are sub judice, I am not a lawyer. I don't want to be part of it. And secondly, when these latest developments came, I was on the field. So I'm not abreast with everything about it. That's why. But I think that it is something that is not deserving of any official response from the NDC party.
You don't think that to a very
individual, it's an individual, it's campaigning. It is not Martin Amidu alone who is saying they should vote against NDC. There are certain people.
And here is he criticizing the same party and even calling for electors to.
President Rawlings, the founder of the party, criticized this party. He didn't take us out of power. Thank you.
So you're confident?
Now, businessman Alfred Woyome says he never took advantage of a change in government to swindle the state, contrary to claims by sections of the public. He states that there was continuous discussion with authorities before the controversial 51.2 million Ghana cedis was paid into his account. He was speaking exclusively on Joy News' current affairs show, The Pulse.
In fact, it was not a change of government. There was continuous discussion before the government changed to NDC government. So I did not take advantage of a change government or whatever they've put into the people's mind and things like that. It's a simple contractual issue that was created by this. How it has turned to this, for me, sometimes I say that I marvel. But I know the truth is truth. So we will test it in court, and we have tested it in court for all this period. The 51 million Ghana cedis is genuinely my money and the fruit of it, and I owe nobody. I owe nobody how I use my money. Was it legally paid? Yes, it was legally paid. It was not stolen. It was not done anything. It's something that stretched from Kufuor's period into Atami's period, and it was paid to me legally.
So Woyome also alleged that as a rest of the judgment death saga was a failed assassination attempt.
The events from the court, the events of the so-called arrest, where your cameramen were there, and for me it was a failed assassination attempt. I have talked since 3 consecutive times. I have spoken on issues and I have laid the bare facts to Ghanaians as it's unfolding, because there are more stories.
I'm sure that for those watching they will know.
They are dwelling on the peripheries.
He also said the Supreme Court, which ordered him to pay back the money, was misled to take that decision in July 2014.
I didn't go to the previous government that give me something. I was in my consulate because of government. Then this particular one, Honorable Osekoku, may his soul rest in peace. He's a wonderful chap. He's my brother. He was my brother. From the first Minister for Youth and Sport. He came and he discussed with me, what can we do about the youth? Because you have done this, you have done that, you have done that with Safumafu, which they have all paid me, so he knows it. The track record was there. And we come to with this grand idea. And I challenge any one of them, anybody, that can 2008, we had Rashid Bawa, who made sure that they won it. Rex Dankwa, who made sure they won it. Because it was the only channel for which Ghana could have borrowed when we were so epic. And then, as a countryman, you let him to do a lot of things, set up offices abroad, many places, which they are all called records. So I don't want to waste the listeners' time, but to say the core issue. The core issue is that I was led into this.
By who?
By the previous government.
So by extension, you mean by former President Kufuor?
You see, he happened to be the president.
Okay.
If the ministers are there to execute their duty, constitutionally mandated duty, and they go and tell A, B, C that they should work, at the end of it, they go to cabinet to discuss it. That's where presidents prefer coming.
Well, to sum it all up, he stated that he's very ready to face Mr. Amidu in court come Thursday. We're taking a break. We'll be back with business news. Please don't go away. All right, it's time for business news, and the gentleman who abandoned me some days last week, he's back, Emmanuel Abaju-Yafe.
Yes.
Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Good to have you back.
Yes, I was a little indisposed.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. All right, so what's coming up?
Well, coming up, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has decided to reduce the policy rate to 25.5%.
Okay, and you are betting that is going to lead to a reduction in interest rates?
Sure, marginal reduction.
I doubt that's going to happen.
Marginal reduction.
I doubt that's going to happen.
Why?
It's by 50 basis points.
Yes.
And they're unlikely to be moved by, they consider a lot of factors
yes.
before moving the interest rates. And especially, you know, because it's an election year, we're just close to the elections, I doubt it would impact that much.
Well, you know,
interest rates are about what? 30-something percent,
32,
right?
33%.
Yeah.
And cost of credit has for some time now gone up so much because of the interest rates. And private businesses have been clamoring for this policy rate to come down.
Anyway, let's
so
see
at
how it
least
goes.
it's some good news.
Let's see how it goes. You take it away.
All right, thank you very much. And thanks for joining me on business. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has decided to reduce the policy rate marginally. The committee dropped the rate by 50 basis points to 25.5%. This is the first time since June 2011 that the bank has reduced its policy rate, which often influences cost of credit. Addressing journalists after a meeting to review the health of the economy, Dr. Abdul Nasiru Isahaku, the governor, said the action was influenced by a favorable outlook for the economy.
The outlook for inflation is broadly positive, as reflected in the continued decline in the underlying inflation, stability in the foreign exchange market, low aggregate demand conditions, and general high real interest rates. Growth conditions remain weak and below trend. This is underpinned by weak global demand, declining commodity prices, and disruptions in the production of oil and gas. Other factors include weak private sector credit growth as a result of the tight credit stance and fiscal consolidation efforts. These tight conditions are expected to prevail in the outlook. With these considerations, ladies and gentlemen, the committee concluded that the downside risks to growth outweigh the risk to inflation, and therefore decided to reduce the policy rate by 50 basis points to 25.5%.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now, the two main parties have been trading accusations as the campaign heats up with just a few days to go. They have been making eccentric comments about each other that many consider as unhealthy for the political environment. With barely a fortnight to this year's crucial general election, Raymond Akwa has more on this.
Sometimes I feel sad when I see some of our northern brothers running around and also doing this. They will use you and dump you. So I want to live to see the day. You let anything happen today. And let our brother Bawumia say he's standing for president in NPP. They will never give it to him.
That is President Mahama addressing supporters and residents of Lora in the Upper West region over the weekend when he toured the area as part of his campaign for a renewed mandate. His comments have exposed him to huge criticism and condemnation by some who insist it is unbecoming of a president to make such ethnocentric statements. But even before the dust settles on the matter, the running mate of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, fired back, insisting President Mahama is not the kind of president the people from the 3 regions of the north are proud of.
We have a northern president who presides over the lack of feeding grants to our secondary schools in the north. And that is why we are asking for a change. Yes, John Mahama is our northern brother, but he has failed us completely. In fact, northerners never used to be known as corrupt people.
This is not the first time such inflammatory comments by personalities of the 2 main political parties have come up. Ahead of the 2012 polls, the NDC's John Mahama was criticized when he wooed northerners to vote for him based on his ethnicity, emphasizing he was one of them. His main rival, the NPP's Nana Akufo-Addo, also came out for condemnation for his Yen Akanfo comment, suggesting that Akan should support their own. It appears he may have learned his lesson, as only recently, whilst campaigning, he told his supporters in the eastern region, where he hails from, to vote for him on the basis of his competence and not his ethnicity, whether the electorate will punish the president for such remarks.
On to more stories from the campaign trail. The presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Akufo-Addo, has condemned calls by President Mahama on northerners to vote for the National Democratic Congress because he's an indigene of the area. According to Nana Akufo-Addo, President Mahama, who is supposed to be a unifier, has rather chosen to engage in tribalism and petty politics to rescue his party from defeat in the upcoming general election. Speaking at the NPP's Volta regional rally at Aflawa Woyome in the Ketu South constituency, Nana Akufo-Addo implored Ghanaians to vote against candidates who engage in tribal politics.
The rally, dubbed Volta for Change, was on the theme, the role of the Voltarian in the agenda for jobs. The gathering brought together NPP faithful across the region. National and regional executives as well as communicators of the party took turns to address the mammoth crowd to galvanize votes for the NPP. They encouraged the electorate in the perceived electoral world bank of the NDC to vote for the NPP to better their lives and safeguard the future of the country. Addressing the rally, Nana Akufo-Addo emphasized that President Mahama has realized he would lose the upcoming election, therefore has taken to tribal politics to save his party and promised to build a prosperous, free and democratic nation.
Our president, who should be a figure who unites all of us, has now unabashedly, unashamedly launched on a campaign of tribal incitement and inflammation in our country. He's telling the people of the North that they should vote for him because he's a northerner, and that we in the NPP, we don't like northerners, so they shouldn't listen to us. Is that the Ghana we want? North against South, South against North, tribe against tribe. Is that the Ghana we want?
Nana Akufo-Addo, who reaffirmed his pledge to rapidly develop the Volta region in his administration, promised to accelerate the exploration of oil in the Keta Basin and construct a harbour at Keta and other ancillary facilities to facilitate fishing business in coastal communities. He also assured all policies outlined in the NPP manifesto would be implemented to develop the country.
I'm standing ready to work with you to develop the region and to develop Ghana. We are going to accelerate. We're going to accelerate the exploration of oil in the Voltaic Basin here to make sure that what we did in the Western region, we're going to repeat it in the Volta region. We're going to build a new harbor in Qatar with the support of the private sector. We're going to rebuild the harbor in Qatar. And the landing site and storage facilities that we need to get the fishing community on the coast working, we're going to do it.
The vice presidential candidate of the NPP, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, charged NPP supporters to vote out the corrupt and incompetent Mahama-led government under whose watch the country's economy collapsed.
Over the last 8 years, they have had more money than all other governments put together from Nkrumah to Kufuor. And yet they cannot pay for the National Health Insurance Scheme. And yet they cannot pay for school feeding. And yet they cannot pay for mass cocoa spraying. And yet the national youth employment has collapsed on their watch. They cannot pay contractors. And that is why we say they are an incompetent government.
A former trades minister in the erstwhile Kufuor administration, Alan John Tremantin, who indicated that votes from the region will decide the fate of the NPP in the December polls, implored the people to vote for the NPP for jobs. He added that the Volta region would become an industrial hub under the NPP administration, where thousands of jobs would be created for the youth in the region.
If Volta decides that Amidu will be the next president, Nana is going to be the next president. I want to assure you, a vote for Amidu as the next president of Ghana will mean a vote for prosperity. It will be a vote for jobs.
Fred Kwame Asari filed this report.
The Progressive People's Party has also been campaigning in the Greater Accra region, with its vice presidential candidate Bridget Jokponuku leading the charge. The campaign team started off from the Makla Market through to Choko, where they climaxed it. At the Makla Market, Madam Bridget Jokponuku told the market women about the positive intentions, policies and plans that Dr. Papakwesi Indom and the party have in store for them, which seeks to improve their lives and see their rise in their respective communities and the country at large. We bring you the Choco session.
To our Dr. Papakwesi Indom, to our Progressive People's Party. A son say, "Yenina him say, if you are baby, yentimen cost to the air cost to say, yeah, bread, yentimen son brain fear naya eba, ebanesa, near Mount Koye Wagana, and ya yanqua, yenina ye bread. Uko Ghana baby, uncrophone say yenina yes, same. Yehun's a Progressive People's Party, and I share. Emma ya bro bomu SSA. Well, I see a cozy BB was circle at the Dubai. Share a hassle young crying. I then ye bestie wa honor why ye fe. Ya waha ya tewaha. Aha, I can't cry home. Near Shana Hanya ye. Ye betua bapa near who's a ye crying enge. Near bessie ye cry my. Yes, ye cry pet after 4 years ye and cabio. As I say, yes, the same. Nanya ebeko ya brabo mu ya setena mu eno na ehia anya ekwan ya nam so ekwan hia but anya no ne ye bedi ne ye mba bedi ye mba mu apomuden ye mba school ko eno na ehia na ye ka se yes sem ne ye ja ma obi asesem ama ye ya ensesa da eye efa yankasa ye so se wo ka se esesa na kire se wankasa wo sesa no one house is son, na one house is son. Now, Fred went down for car who say young Sema. Na best son.
That's it for the bulletin, and my name is Israelite. I wish you a good night.
This is Joy News Prime.